Hello there. It's your girl Valerie Mason Chase again, and welcome to another Marriage Beyond the Breach. I thank you all, anyone who's listening now or later. And later is just as good as now because we know that time and distance is no barrier, no obstacle for God, because He can do His thing anytime, any place, anyhow, anywhere. So, whatever it is, I just thank you for being here. I'm sorry, I'm sweating. I'm having one of those moments. My glasses is fogging up, so just bear with a sister for a minute. So, anywho, as always, we have an amazing topic for you tonight. One that I believe most, if not all of us, can benefit from. And we're going to get into that in a minute. Hey, Nene. So, for anyone who has not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, I would appreciate if you would do that. Marriage Beyond the Breach on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. So, anyway, without further ado, what's our topic tonight? Tonight, we want to talk about resilience. More specifically, we want to talk about the power of resilience and how, first of all, what resilience is, how it could show up in our lives, and how we can benefit from having some resilience in our lives, the difference that make. Now, no, marriage beyond the breach. Be having, I know that's Ebonics, but just bear with me. We be having some amazing presenters, guests on our program, and tonight is no different. So let me just say this. I am blessed to serve / work at a mental health practice where every single person that's there is knowledgeable, is equipped, is compassionate. They just run the gamut. They check every single box. I'm so blessed to be able to work in a place like that. Dr. Ganita calls us all passionate people helpers. Passionate people helpers. So tonight, I have a passionate people helper who was on with us for the very first time, but I'm praying, and y'all pray along with me, that this will not be the last time we see her. So I'm going to bring her right on right now, Miss Kelly. Hey, Kelly.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, my sister, for having me. It's a privilege and an honor.
Yes, thank you. So, Kelly's full bio is in the description on the YouTube channel, underneath the description of this particular episode. But, Kelly, for those who are seeing you for the first time, just share a little bit about yourself.
I certainly will. I am a retired correctional police lieutenant. I retired from the New Jersey Department of Corrections almost 4 years ago. And now it is my privilege, my honor to serve as a clinical mental health counselor at Mending Hearts Behavioral Health and Family Services in Burlington, New Jersey. I'm just so grateful that in this season, God is letting me know, that He still has purpose for me, and it's just a wonderful opportunity to just pay it forward and give back. And the Lord lets me know that as I look back over my life, He has not wasted any experience. Any of that God has allowed me to experience, endure, and overcome has prepared me for such a time as this.
Yes.
I also do work part-time for Rutgers Behavioral Health at the National Call Center. I work in the First Responders Unit. We offer peer support and professional resource referrals for police officers, correctional police officers, New Jersey Fire EMS, and so on. So yes, passionate people helpers we are.
Yes, indeed. And what you said earlier about God not wasting any of our experiences, because actually you were in the military also. Don't leave that out. I don't know if you mentioned that.
That's right. I did serve in the U.S. Air Force before my career in corrections. Yes, I did serve a term in the Air Force.
So God uses all of our experiences. And the amazing thing is that we can, with God's help, smoothly and easily transition from one profession to another. And that's one of the things that I connect with you on, Kelly, because, this is a second career for me as well, in the mental health profession. So that is Miss Kelly. I want y'all to show her some love because we want Kelly to come back again. And you know how we do here at I'm about to say Mending Hearts. At, at Marriage Beyond the Breach, we show love to our guests. Now, this next person is, hold on, I have to make sure that Cookie Man's not listening because I call her my biggest cheerleader, and then Cookie Man get mad at me when I say that. But she really is my biggest cheerleader, my bestest friend in the whole world, none other than my baby sister, Jackie. Hey, sis.
Hey sis, hi Kelly, and Kelly, thank you for
Becky.
your service.
Oh,
To
my privilege.
everyone
Thank
that's
you.
listening, hello, good evening. Y'all know I'm not new. My sister
Mm-hmm.
sort of gets me to do this on a regular, but it's always glad to be here. Looking forward to discussing this topic. So let's just
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and jump in. They know me
All
already.
right. No, but there may be somebody watching for the first time. So just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Currently, I work for company Essen Medical Associates as a supervisor. We are there to help people connect with the healthcare system. We do serve a lot of elderly people, especially those in urban areas. I do live in New York. In addition to that, I am the founder of Lifeline Prayer Ministry, where I will record or email prayers. Praying for others is definitely one of my gifts. I'm also
Mm-hmm.
on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel,
Mm-hmm.
Jackie's Inspirational Corner, where I will pray or sometimes just discuss scripture. And Journey on the Inside Life Coach will be
Mm-hmm.
launched before the end of this year. I'm the proud mom of three and the proud grandma of six, one who has gone
Mm-hmm.
to be with the Lord.
Yes. And I'm so glad you mentioned Journey on the Inside coaching practice because I'm holding you accountable to that, to launching it
I
before
know
the end of the
this.
year because you have delayed, you have
Yes.
procrastinated, and you've done it long enough. So I'm holding
Yes.
you accountable. And those of you who are listening, including you, Kelly, I want y'all to help hold my sister accountable because she done said it in front of us and God and everybody. So
Quite a few times. Yeah.
we want to hold you accountable, and I'm looking forward to that. And I hope you all will look forward to it as well. So let's get right into it. We're talking about resilience tonight. So let's start by defining what resilience is.
I'll start.
Mhm.
So resilience for me, it's having it's having a toughness that you really don't know where it comes from,
Mm,
right?
Mhm.
Um, it's being able to stand up to something or withstand something, um,
Mm.
even when it's rough, when it's real hard, but you can
Yeah.
persevere. You can continue
Mhm.
to do what needs to be done. That's what
Yeah.
resent. I've grew up watching our mom deal with it, and I think Val and I definitely took that mantle in
Mhm.
being resilient in life, and that's
Mhm.
what it is for me.
Okay.
yes, yes,
Okay. Sister
yes.
Kelly.
Yes, yes, very well stated. I felt that. I felt that, Sister Jackie. I felt that.
Praise God.
Yes, and many times I define resilience as the ability to bounce back and thrive
Hmm.
after and in spite
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
adversity.
Hmm. That's
Yes.
good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Jackie's right. We saw our mother have some, she had a whole lot of resilience. She bounced back from a lot of situations, some of which occurred even before we were born.
Hmm.
Um, she had a rather, she had a rather tough life from her birth through several marriages and all of that stuff. And physical abuse and a whole lot. But she persevered. And it used to, when I was younger, boy, it used to drive me crazy because she'd be in there praising God and praying and thanking God. And I'm wondering, What's wrong with her? How can she do that in the face of everything that she has dealt with and is dealing with? But you know something? You know how the old timey saints used to say, just keep on living and you'll find out. And I certainly have found out about that resilience piece that my mother was living through, and how even in the face of a lot of adversity, she was able to still to pray and praise and worship. So yeah, that resilience, it really is something. So I'm wondering about early life experiences. How might that influence our ability to be resilient later in life? I know Jackie and I just kind of talked about it, but from your perspective, Sister Kelly, what say you?
Yes. Uh, Based on Bowlby's theory of early attachment, I see it
Mm,
as how the interactions between babies, small children, and their primary caregivers, considering that we all come
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
here with a brain that's like a blank slate, meaning we don't come here with preconceived ideas about others. We don't come here with preconceived ideas about
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
anything. However, our brains and personalities are formed and developed based on those early interactions, and they impact us in such a way that these experiences influence the way we perceive ourselves, others, and the world. And
yes.
core beliefs are developed as a result of that. And then as we live, as we continue to experience things over the
Mm-hmm,
lifespan, those core beliefs can be reinforced.
mm-hmm,
So for example, I want to give an
right.
example. So if a baby crying, of course, because it's the only language a baby has, a baby can say, oh, my stomach hurts,
Mm-hmm,
oh, I have a gas bubble, oh, can you pick me up and put me on your shoulder and pat my back, can you help me burp? They can't
mm-hmm,
say that, so
mm-hmm,
they
mm-hmm,
cry. If their back itches,
right, right,
they're babies, but it doesn't mean their back can't
mm-hmm,
itch, right? They can't say, "Oh,
right, right.
could you scratch my back?" or whatever the case might
Mm,
be. A baby could be in a stroller while you're walking through the park, and unbeknownst to you, a bee has landed on the baby and stung the baby. And all of a sudden, the baby screams and cries, and you have no idea what happened. Now, if
mm,
a baby, unfortunately, has the type of caregivers who respond, I fed you, you're dry, you ate, you just spoiled.
mm, mm-hmm,
You need to learn how to
mm-hmm,
self soothe
mm-hmm,
and all that type of stuff. If a baby constantly gets those
mm-hmm,
types of reactions, what that teaches the baby, literally neural pathways are formed in the baby's brain, and it teaches the
right,
baby
right.
what you think, feel, and need doesn't matter. None of that matters. And so a person like that
Mm-hmm,
would grow up not feeling like, well, I don't have a voice, I don't matter. That would be the
mm,
core belief.
right.
I don't really matter, so let me
Mm-hmm,
just be quiet.
mm-hmm,
And so a person
mm,
like that would have a hard time being resilient, because
mm-hmm,
connection is one
mm-hmm,
of the core
mm-hmm,
resilience skills based on the UPenn model. you know Connection being the ability to form
mm-hmm,
strong, healthy, lasting relationships, trusting relationships. A person who doesn't even believe that he or she matters and their voice shouldn't be heard, they're going
yeah,
to have a
yeah,
hard time with
yeah. I,
connection. hmm and
mm-hmm,
and without
mm-hmm,
that connection, that would be one of the core skills missing to support their resiliency.
yeah, yeah. I get that. Because if you believe you don't matter, if you believe you don't have a voice, you absolutely cannot be resilient, because you're going to kind of just shrink in the face of
hmm
adversity
hmm
rather than sticking your chest out and taking it head on, so to speak.
hmm
Yeah, I get that. That's good. So, talking about resilience, how might someone differentiate between resilience and enduring or staying in an unhealthy situation?
Um, So we were talking about mom, so I'm going to go back to that. It was an unhealthy relationship, right? I think when we endure that, there's still a hope, right? There's still this idea of I can love them through the change, or I can love them enough that they're going to change. But when we're being resilient, it's more of, okay, this is what it is for now, and I have to be able to get through this for now, right? But when you're in that
Yeah.
unhealthy, you're broken. If you're in an unhealthy relationship, you're broken. And so getting to the point of not accepting the situation, but understanding that's what it is, and you now have to make moves to get out of that or to move forward. I think that that's the difference, or at least some of it.
Okay. Okay. What about Kelly? What do you say?
Yeah. That is definitely a huge part of it. I think so. We're comparing resilience or resiliency to just enduring an unhealthy relationship. Jackie, that was so well stated. That this is what it is for now, and this is what I need to do to get through it now. However, long term, I don't want to be stuck. So that's the difference. Resiliency helps us to believe that there could be a way forward, and it helps us to find that way forward and take meaningful action to move forward rather than being stuck. Yeah.
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 So then, how important would you say self-awareness is in cultivating that resiliency?
Yeah. So self-awareness, yeah. So just to make it known, just to make it clear, I do tend to, when it comes to the concept of resiliency, I do subscribe to the UPenn model, and the 6 core resiliency skills are self-awareness, self-regulation, mental agility, strengths of character, connection, and optimism. And self-awareness, it's more than just being aware of where you are, the date and the time, well, who
Yeah.
your family members are, and your own name. It's the ability to actually notice and pay attention to what you're thinking. What do I what do I really think about this situation? What do I really think about it? How
Yes.
do I really feel about what I just experienced or what's going on right now? And how is it affecting me? Maybe even physiologically. Maybe I
Right.
wasn't getting headaches before all of this started happening. Maybe I wasn't having gastrointestinal issues before I started going through all of this. So what am I really thinking and feeling and even experiencing physiologically? How am I impacted, and what do I need? What do I need in this moment? Yeah. And so it's important to have that self-awareness to be able to differentiate between, okay, am I being resilient, or am I just enduring an unhealthy situation or an unhealthy relationship that I need to free
Yeah.
myself from? Is this empowering
Yeah.
me? Is this promoting my overall well-being, or is this making me sick? Is this making me sick? Is it
Yeah.
disrupting my peace of mind?
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Jack, you have anything to add to that?
Not really, other than, and I say this a lot, sis, you got to be honest with yourself.
Yes.
You
Very
have to
true.
be honest. And, I mean, the way that Kelly explained it was great. And she pretty much said the same thing. You have to be honest with yourself. How is it affecting you? Does it make you act differently than you acted 3 years ago? Right? Do you find yourself making excuses not to be around friends and family because of whatever's going on? So you have to do that self check-in, and that's what
Yeah.
self-awareness is. Hey, I'm feeling this, I'm thinking this, I'm acting like this, and then looking at, well, what's the root of it? what has happened in my life
Yeah.
to make
Yeah.
it change or to make me change.
hmm And like you said, to be honest with yourself about what is really happening and not poo poo it as sometimes we may tend to do. Um, and just as the kids say, just keep it real, keep it 100, be real about what is really going on and not try to gloss
Absolutely.
over. I remember one of my professors, I think it was Dr. Miller, who encouraged three questions to always ask oneself in situations like this. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And what do I want? Because I think if we can ask and answer those three questions honestly, it can help us, especially when we're at a crossroads or we're thinking about doing something. And to prevent us from being impulsive, we can stop and ask ourselves those three questions. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And what do I want? So when we can answer those honestly, that can help us to be real with ourselves and to help us to have um, a level of insight and self-awareness that might not otherwise be there. So I want to ask you guys this. So from your perspective, do you think that there is a generational difference in resilience? Do you think people who are more mature, older uh, folk are more resilient than some of the younger people, especially nowadays? I know what I think, but I'm interested to hear what y'all have to say.
Well, you know, when I first thought about that question initially, I was
Mm-hmm.
going to say, yeah, of course, older adults are more resilient than the younger generation today because we stuck things out, right? We didn't just say, oh, no, it's too hard and we'd run. But the more that I thought about it, I still think the older generation is more resilient. However, I'm not going to take away from the younger generation that we're in now because they are more honest with themselves than we were, right?
Mm.
So
Okay, I got to
we
write that down with a question mark.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we were more resilient. I and Let me speak for me because we felt like we had to be right. There were a lot of times where we just didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
choice. We
Mm-hmm.
had to muster through. We had to hold on. We had to be tough. There are more
Right,
options
that's true.
available to the younger generation today, and
Mm-hmm.
so they're
Mm-hmm.
saying I think that they do more of a self check in than we did, and so
Mm-hmm.
they're
Mm-hmm.
saying no,
Mm-hmm.
this is not working for me and I'm going to go. But that is sort of being resilient. They're just not staying in whatever that situation may be that's not good for
Yeah.
them, be it a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, be it
Mm-hmm.
a job, be it school, whatever it may be. They will do
Yeah.
that check and say, nope, this isn't working and I got to go. So I
Mm.
don't know if I
Okay.
answered
Okay.
that, but that was my thinking.
Okay. I got it. Got it. Kelly?
Yeah, yeah. I hear you, Jackie. The options, you know, a lot of the older generation did not have as many options, and had no choice,
Mm-hmm.
as you were saying, and just had to push through, just had to power through. You just had to get through it somehow. And so and I do think that as you said, that the younger generation tends to do more self check-ins and be more honest about, oh, this is not
Mm-hmm.
working for me, I'm actually not happy with this. And
Hmm.
so it's interesting because then we can look at, was it truly resilience or just defense mechanisms helping to survive? Because
Mm.
just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
surviving by way of defense mechanisms, in other words, and to be more specific, defense mechanisms, denial, acting like it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
bother you when it really does,
Right.
like you're happy when you're really not,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
or or suppression, not today. I'm just going to push it out of my mind and just not deal with it. Those are all defense mechanisms, and they do work to get you through the moment. That's what you have to
Right.
do in the moment to get to deal with it. But as far as what does that do for your mental health,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, and what does it do for your personality,
Mm.
actually, you know? Because now I'm actually thinking about vulnerability, being honest with yourself and with others. That hurts. I don't like this. I'm not happy. It takes courage to be vulnerable. And, because of the way we are made, the way we're wired, we can't habitually suppress and deny our difficult, painful feelings, uncomfortable feelings without compromising our ability to truly and fully experience the fullness of joy, love, and happiness. And to be honest, keeping it real and 100, right? A lot of folk become mean and hard and cold and call that strong. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But what it is
That's true.
There's a lot of pain underneath that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
A lot of times you can see that the smile on the face is not in the heart. Because there's so much pain, and so I don't know that that's actually resilience.
Right.
But it is survival. It's survival.
It's survival. Yeah, but it may not actually be resilience. Yeah. That's a good point. And when you said you think the young people are more honest, I wrote that down with a question mark, because now this is just my perspective. The younger people, let's say those in their early to mid 20s, and I don't know if it's resilience they lack or stamina they lack, but they just seem to, I don't know if give up is the word, but to, I'm trying to be PC, okay? Maybe it's lack of strength or emotional strength that the younger seem to lack. And I don't remember, forgive me for saying this, I don't remember being as whiny or needy in my 20s as some of the 20s who are in their 20s now. I don't remember being that. So I don't know if that's resilience or if I don't know if that's something else. Because at least from my perspective, part of the maturation process is learning to live with a certain level of discomfort, because we're not going to always have exactly what we want, exactly the way that we want it, exactly when we want it. Sometimes it is necessary to quote unquote endure and learn to deal with a certain level of discomfort. Because it's not always going to be comfortable. Everybody ain't always going to like us. It's not always going to be good. We're not always going to be experiencing peace and joy. So I think the goal would be, where is the balance in that? Because we're going to be uncomfortable incessantly or forever in an unhealthy way. However, I think there is a place and time to learn to live with a certain level of discomfort as we mature and as we gain some mental, emotional, and psychological strength. I don't know. That's my thoughts. What do y'all think? I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying it's my perspective.
Right, but I do understand what you're saying. Initially, I was going to say it's lack of common sense, but that we can't just blame that on the younger generation, because common sense is not so common. But the bigger question is, or the bigger statement, as parents, well, my kids, nobody's in their 20s anymore, and they weren't whiny. But as parents, the older generation, we have to look at how much of their lack of enduring falls on us. Right? Because and so Val, I can use you and I as examples. We wanted our children to have better than we did. And that's most parents, right? We don't want our children to suffer the way that we did. So we coddle them a little bit, right? And so they get to a point where it's, oh, I don't have to do it because mommy's going to do it. I remember my first summer at college. There was a young lady, 18, 19. She did not know how to use a washing machine. I couldn't understand that. That was, what do you mean you don't know? But it's because
Wow.
her mother had
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
laundry when she was younger. So her daughter was not
Mhm.
going to have to do laundry. So we have to,
Mm.
as the older generation, we have to stop and say, well, wait a minute, are we now going to say that they're not? And if they're not, why aren't they?
That's a
A
good
lot of it
point.
comes from us.
That is absolutely a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. And
Mhm.
I think, um, at least for me, I think part of the reason why I didn't quote unquote coddle Sadell, Hammy, and John, because I wanted them to be strong. And there were some things that they wanted that I could afford that they just did not get.
Oh, for sure.
Because I felt that that was inappropriate. And
Hmm.
no, you don't have a job. I have a job, so
Hmm.
therefore you are responsible for doing certain things. So yeah, but I get your point. You are absolutely right.
Hmm.
You are absolutely right. In our endeavor to have them not experience the struggles that we did,
Right.
we may have created our own monsters, so to speak. Not saying
Hmm.
that they are monsters, just using that as
Hmm.
a
I know
euphemism,
exactly
so
what
to
you
speak.
mean.
What do you
Hmm.
think, Kelly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel all of this. I really do. I feel all of it. I found myself at some point. My daughter's grown and married. I have a third grandbaby on the way. As a matter of fact, my third grandbaby is due
Mm-hmm.
next month. And a wonderful daughter, wonderful son-in-law, beautiful grandchildren. I remember several years back. My daughter's in her early 30s now. She's 33. But I remember when she was
Mm-hmm.
trying to get her first job, and she just struggled and struggled and struggled. I remember taking her to various places, and then some places she was able to get to on her own, trying so hard to get a job. And I remember her expressing how discouraging it was that they didn't hire her because she didn't have experience. And there's the dilemma: well, how do I get
Mm.
experience if you don't hire me?
Hmm.
And so,
Right.
how that
Right.
ties in with our conversation is that my mentality was, before, like while she was in high school, my attitude was, your job is to go to school and get an education. Just go to
Mm-hmm.
school,
Mm-hmm.
learn, get good grades, and graduate, and so on
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. You don't have to worry about working. And so I was starting to blame myself in a way, like, wow, have I made a
Mm.
mistake? Because look at the situation my daughter is in. That's, the dilemma I found myself in. But
Mm.
so
Mm-hmm.
yes, we're the ones who raised the younger generation,
Mm-hmm.
so we absolutely, have a part that we've played in the resiliency skills that they have developed or not developed. And then there's the
Yeah.
culture of the world today that is different,
Yes.
especially when it
Yes.
comes to social media, the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
cyberbullying, not just in-person bullying, but cyberbullying,
Yeah.
and so many other things that are going on among their peers that a lot of times we don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we can think that we are paying attention, not missing a beat, but there's a lot that our
Yeah.
children go through that we are not aware of.
Hmm.
And then some things
True.
that we
Very
are
true.
aware of, and for various reasons may have failed, to get them through or do better,
Mm-hmm.
for them and with them. And so, with so much going on, when it comes to, what is necessary to build resiliency, they really need our support. They really need our support, you know
Yes.
and it kind of ties in with, I'm looking at the time because I know I can go a while. you know
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club.
you know but it kind of ties in with an earlier question about the
Mhm.
the early, childhood experiences or
The
early
childhood experiences. Yeah.
attachments and everything. Even when it comes to babies or young children being able to regulate themselves and soothe themselves, it starts first
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
having a co-regulator who is the parent. And
Hmm.
so I think I want
Right.
to, yeah, I want to avoid overgeneralizing in any area, because people are still individuals. A lot of people have parents who are simply, not equipped to really help their children build the resiliency skills that they need.
Yeah.
So if a child doesn't have primary caregivers that are comforting and responsive, and right out of the womb expect them to just be, you got to be tough, this world,
Yes.
if they never have a co-regulator, then how in the
Yeah.
world are they supposed to learn how to regulate themselves? There's no point of reference.
That's true.
Absolutely. That's good. That's really
Yeah.
good. I want to touch back on something that I think, I don't know if it was Jackie or you, Kelly, mentioned earlier about coddling our children. And here's a funny thing, because now, see, I coddle my grandchildren. Now, see, my children, especially Jonathan, he started doing his laundry at a very young age. They did their own laundry, they did all that. So when my granddaughter will come over here, sometimes she'll come with some laundry, say, "Oh, Mama, I have to do my laundry." "Oh, no, you don't, baby. Give me that laundry." and I'll go and I'll do her laundry for her. But I feel okay with that because I know her mom is making sure that she has that responsibility and that she knows how to do it. When she's with grandma, she don't have to.
There's the balance.
I think it's a very interesting dynamic. Yes, it's a very interesting dynamic. Right. Mothering versus grandmothering.
Ooh,
Very
big difference. Yes.
Very, very different. Yeah. So what about, and I think we might have touched on this a little bit about resilience. How might it impact romantic relationships? And I think we hit on it a little bit, but if there's anything else that you can add to that or would like to add to that, you can share.
Yeah. So, wow, this seems like an opportunity to share a story, because we all have a story.
we all got,
listen, we all have a story. We all have a history. Some of them. Thank God for the blood of Jesus.
Hello.
Thank God for grace and mercy. As someone who divorced 2 husbands, and and now I'm widowed from the 3rd. Yeah, I have learned some things over the years. I have learned some things over the years. So, resiliency is quintessential in romantic relationships. When people are broken, and I can testify, I know what it's like to be broken, to not really be resilient and to have to learn it and develop it later. I can testify that resiliency is very, very important. And I want to refer back again to the UPenn model, the 6 core resiliency skills: that self-awareness, self-regulation. So once we have the self-awareness, what do I really think? What do I really feel? What do I really need? How am I really being impacted by this? Should I stay? Should I go? How do I advocate for myself? I remember not knowing that self-advocacy was even a thing, let alone being able to do so. And when you don't know how to self-advocate, how in the name of all that's right and true could you possibly advocate for someone else? You know what I mean? So being someone who has had to learn and develop, resiliency, and that self-awareness, and then move into self-regulation. Once you're aware of how you've been impacted or are being impacted, well, what do I do about it now? That's where the self-regulation skills come in, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But a person who is broken, a person who is not resilient, a person that is not self-aware, and a person who really doesn't have strength of character, a person who lacks optimism and healthy connection, a person like that cannot really succeed in a romantic relationship or make a better choice concerning entering that romantic relationship in the first place. Yeah. So I have, I'm not ashamed to say it. I have looked back over my life and realized if I had known then what I know now,
Mm-hmm.
Those first two marriages would have never happened. Maybe the third one wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get real, like you said earlier, like the young folks say, keep it real, keep it 100.
That's right. That's right.
But I think I've said enough for now. Yes, I truly believe that resilience, because it's part of good health. It's part of good health. It's quintessential to romantic relationships. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Jack, what do you say about resilience and romantic relationships?
Uh, I'm going to plead the fifth on that one. Kelly said it. Kelly said it all. I'll have nothing left to say on that. Woo.
Kelly put herself out there.
Listen, but
Kelly put herself on Front Street.
And that's why I have nothing to say, because a lot of it
Here's the thing.
true.
Right?
I get it. I relate to it, and I have nothing left to say on that note.
Yes. And I want to acknowledge, if I may, I just want to acknowledge people in the comments. Hey, Alvin, Nisi, everybody, Sean, hello, everyone.
So, yeah, I think resilience is a necessary component for romantic relationships or marriages, especially. Kelly, you mentioned having been married 3 times. I've been with the same man for 45 years, and I've needed a whole lot of resilience to have lasted as long as we have. And I've needed a whole lot of resilience. And perhaps there were times when I should not have been resilient. And there are times when I didn't necessarily practice resilience because, we had a couple of separations. And when you talk about resilience, from my perspective, self-care is a component of that. Yes. And sometimes in the act of resilience requires that we kind of distance ourselves, even if for a time, to engage in some self-care when we are in a romantic relationship or even a marriage, because sometimes it is absolutely needed. So I agree with you. You need to have some resilience in order to have a successful romantic relationship. But we have to decide what that resilience looks like, because it doesn't always mean sucking it up and staying in an unhealthy situation. Sometimes we do have to just kind of step away for a minute. Whatever that minute might look like. So what about resilience when it comes to mental health concerns like depression or anxiety?
I had difficulty with that, but I just made some quick notes for me. And this is just people that I've encountered in life that have had mental health or have mental health disorders. And one of them for me is, does the person understand or accept that they have mental disorders? Because so many people are in denial, right? And again, to what we were talking about earlier, if you're not honest with what it is or what you have, how does resilience even play into that, right? Because they're going along to get along, or faking it until you make it. But if the acknowledgement or the acceptance of it is not there, how do we again correlate resilience to that? That's my question.
Yeah. So I'm thinking you're making such good points throughout, Jackie, as far as people being in denial. I think a lot of times that has to do with the stigma that still remains. Various communities have come a long way with accepting and normalizing mental health challenges. I mean, just like you can have a cold or a flu, you can have a mental health challenge. It doesn't mean you're not, it has nothing to do with your intelligence. It takes nothing away from your worth and value as a human being. It simply means that, we live in a life where the winds and storms of life rage. And sometimes we're just battered and bruised, just impacted by the things that we go through.
Yeah.
But we can overcome. We can get better. We can heal. We just need to reach out for the help and support that we need. And I think it's important to understand also what anxiety is and what depression is. I think understanding what they are can also make it easier for people to accept the reality of struggling with anxiety, depression, or any other mental health challenge. And to keep it as simple as possible, anxiety is simply fear. Fear of what might go wrong, and it tends to be around the what ifs. Oh, what if this happens? What if that happens?
Right.
What if he doesn't do this? What if they don't do that? What if this goes wrong? What if, all the what ifs and worrying, fears about the unknown and what could go wrong. Of course, there's more to it than that in many cases, but just to simplify it. And so being hyper-focused on the what ifs and what could happen, that's going to create anxiety. Being hyper-focused on what happened in the past, even if the past was this morning. You can't do anything about it. You can't go back and change it. You know what I mean? But being hyper-focused on it, that can lead to depression, a feeling of hopelessness and helplessness because you really can't do anything about it. So because different events and situations that occur in life, especially the ones that are absolutely beyond our control, because they actually do activate the stress response, that fight, flight, freeze, or faint. They actually do. And because of that, we become activated, our bodies become flooded with stress hormones. And now we're, trying to figure out what to do. And so when we realize that, the self-awareness, like, wow, I'm really antsy. I'm really antsy. For some people, they start having a hard time sleeping at night, or once they fall asleep, they keep getting up multiple times throughout the night and can't understand why. Some people are just, lacking energy. So self-awareness, realizing, wait a minute, something's going on. So how can I practice self-care to do better, to get better? So in addition to reaching out, for maybe therapy, reaching out to a counselor, you can also practice some relaxation techniques or mindfulness techniques or grounding techniques that would help the body kind of reset, and it would help you to ground yourself and not experience those symptoms of that stress response and everything, so and that would be the self-regulation based on the UPenn model. That would come under the self-regulation. That's one of the 6 core skills. So whatever you can do for people of faith, embrace your faith, knowing that God is your strength, that you're not alone, and knowing that it's his will for you to have peace in the midst of the storms,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't remember which one of you said it, but knowing what anxiety is, having a clear understanding what depression is, I think is very, very helpful. Sometimes I have found that people they'll realize that there's something off and not quite right, and they'll come into counseling, but they are diagnosis averse. They are reluctant. They don't want to have a diagnosis. They don't want to be labeled. And when I am counseling someone like that, I spend a lot of time building that therapeutic alliance, building that connection, that level of trust, so that when I do present them with the possibility to consider this as a diagnosis and here's what we can do about it, they trust me. enough to accept it and say, yeah, Valerie, you know what? That fits. Because I think even as counselors or coaches or whatever, wherever we might be, attempting to introduce it too soon, sometimes for some individuals might result in them leaving counseling altogether because they don't want that label. So we have to provide some sort of psychoeducation, but more importantly, that therapeutic alliance is so vitally important, because when you have a connection with someone and when they trust you, oh my God, it's like magic in the room. When that individual trusts you and trusts in you. So yeah, I absolutely agree with everything that both of you have said. So what about children and adolescents? How can we work at helping them to develop some resilience at early age, whether they are, what is that, elementary school age, middle school age, high school age, or young adult age? What can we do? Or what can be done, I should say.
Can't go back to when they were in elementary school because I don't remember. I do, but as adolescents and as teenagers, one of the things that was important with me and my children was them understanding they had a voice, right? And so, because I'm your mom doesn't mean I'm perfect. And so, like Fridays, generally we would sit and me or their dad, my ex-husband, we could have said or done something that week that they didn't agree with. And they had a window of time to talk about it, and we would discuss it. So communication is one, not tearing them down when they make a mistake, because we're not perfect, but listening to them, guiding them, advising them, even giving examples and letting them know, hey, yeah, I'm mom, but I mess up too. But we're going to get through this, and we're going to get through this together. When that was modeled before my children, I see it now in their lives, right? So they're resilient. And I'm quick example. My oldest daughter taught me something about almost 3 years now, right now, almost 3 years. My daughter, she kept saying, Mom, I don't want my son to go to high school in New York. And before she had a job, before she had a place to live, she had packed up her stuff, was saving her money, turned in her resignation. She submitted 2 weeks resignation, no job and no apartment. All I knew was she was going to Texas. As her mother, I was like, this girl lost her mind. But she was brilliant in the fact, and she stepped out on faith. Within the same week, a couple of days apart, she got a job and the apartment in walking distance. I mean, she can really like walk across the street to where she works, right? And so, her being a single parent, she's had to go through it, but she's watched her mother, she's watched her aunt, she's seen resilience modeled before her, and so she grew on that strength, and she's doing well. So it's communicating with them, encouraging them, not tearing them down. When they do make a mistake or when they fall down, help them pick themselves up, and let's keep on going, and modeling it before them.
Yeah, that's good. Yep, she sure did. Because listen, I was worried about the gal myself. How in the world? She ain't got no job. She ain't got no apartment, but she done resigned from her job. And she said, well, Auntie, I'm going. I said, okay, baby. And me and Jackie, I said, Jackie, we got to stay prayed up for this child because we don't know what's going to happen. But listen, Jackie was right. Listen, God will provide.
Yes.
God will provide.
Yes, He will.
No, sir. God will provide. Cannot say enough. And when we trust Him enough and we step out on faith enough, He will be there to catch us when we step out every single time. Yes. So, yeah, Jackie is absolutely right. She taught us something. Now here we are, been saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost all them years, and she taught us something about
Yes,
faith
she did.
and stepping out on faith.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all I'm gonna say as far as that's all I'm gonna say about that. So Kelly, you know what I want you to speak to? You've mentioned the UPenn model a few times. So if you can just talk a little bit more about that. What are the components and what falls under each one of those individual components? Because I think that's a great place for people to start in terms of wanting to build resilience for themselves and then in turn teach their children.
Yes, and you know what? That is a link that I didn't think to grab prior to the podcast. But UPenn model, it's easy to find. It's easily accessible on the web. University of Penn Positive Psychology Center. It's the UPenn model of resilience. And so they basically focus on 6 core resiliency skills. The first 2 we've talked about: self-awareness, we've talked about self-regulation, and self-regulation would include any and everything that you can do basically to help you manage, which, as a matter of fact, would I be able to share my screen?
You know what? I don't know, because I've never tried to do that before, but I found the link for it, the resilient skill set. I'm going to put the link in the chat.
Okay. Yes. Good. That'll be good. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a way that you can share your screen, but I've never done it before. But that's a great point. I have to learn how to do that.
I think I might be able to, but
hold on.
But anyway, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I put it in the.
Thank you.
In the chat.
Thank you for that. Okay. Thank you for that. That way, anyone who views will be able to follow that link and look at that. So it's self-awareness, self-regulation, mental agility. Mental agility is basically just shifting your focus to a more empowering perspective. And so it's not denying the reality of the hardship, the pain, the hurt, the struggle, the betrayal, the abandonment, the abuse, whatever it is. It doesn't deny the reality of that and the impact of that. However, it
okay, there, I just pulled it up. Can y'all see that?
That's it. Yes.
Okay. All right, there it is.
Yes. And so mental agility, what it does, those are the 6 core resiliency skills. Thank you so much for pulling that up and presenting it. Thank you. Yeah. So those are the 6 core resiliency skills. Of course, it's evidence-based. I think it's like 25 years of research that went into this with UPenn. And although it might seem very simple, a lot of times it's the simple things that we miss. And although we can intellectualize, and just acquiesce and agree, actually being able to apply these things in a practical way that really makes a difference, we find that it takes a lot of practice, So with mental agility, you shift your focus to a more empowering perspective. Some people would consider that similar to like reframing. And although the glass half empty, half full analogy also seems very simple and maybe irrelevant, it's actually very, very, very powerful, because the same glass that's half empty is half full. Those 2 statements are not mutually exclusive of the other. So again, to focus on the fact, to shift your focus to the fact that your glass is half full, it doesn't deny that it's half empty. It's just helping you to realize, what is it doing for you? How is that empowering you? How is that helping you to hyper focus on the fact that it's half empty? Let's shift your focus to what you can do, what you can control. Who is there for you? Who does support you? You see what I mean? And so it goes a long way to promote resiliency. And then strengths of character. Although the body of research around faith and religion and spirituality is not huge, there is a body of research that supports the fact, that faith in God, it really does promote better mental health outcomes. You
Yeah.
know, something like faith, something like hope, something like courage, something
Mm-hmm.
like love of family, you know, whatever your strength of character is, being able to identify it and build upon that and practice gratitude, even gratitude journaling about it. Oh, I'm so grateful that I have a family who loves me. Oh, I'm so grateful that I'm so courageous. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, just
Yeah.
yeah, recognize your strengths and build upon them. That will help
Mm-hmm.
you not to define yourself by your adversity. It'll help you not
Mm-hmm.
to define yourself by what happened to you. It's what happened to you. It's not who you are, you
Right.
know? And to be able to differentiate that is very, very powerful and goes a long way to support resiliency. And then connection, as we talked about earlier, you know, the ability to build strong, healthy, lasting relationships. We are wired for connection. We are social beings as human beings, and so we need connection. And for those
Yeah.
who are people of faith, look at it. You know, God Himself is a relationship, and part
Mm-hmm.
of being made in His image and being made
That
in His
part.
likeness, you know what I mean? Is being wired for connection, being wired for
Mm-hmm.
relationship. He said, let us, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit said, let us,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, make man in our image and in our likeness. So it is
Mm-hmm.
undeniable that we need connection. You know, you might have heard how they say that a goldfish in a little tank by itself will die just by being alone. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So connection is very, very important. So a lot of times when people go through hard times for whatever reason, it could be different reasons for different people. They might withdraw and isolate, you know,
Yeah.
but then they're actually cutting off one of the very things they need, your support system. You need your support system to help you through
Yeah.
tough times. So connection is important. And then optimism, you know,
Mm-hmm.
believe that things can get better, you know, and then taking meaningful action to do what you can to make things get better. Ask for help, advocate for yourself, you know. Yeah, so those are the 6 core resiliency skills of the UPenn model.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And for those of you who are viewing this, make note of these core resiliency skills: self awareness, self regulation, mental agility, strength of character, connection, and optimism. And the link for this particular site that I have up on the screen is in the chat. So you should be able to click on it and get to it. Hold on, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. Okay, we are back. Let me exit full screen. Okay. So those of you who are watching, see if you are able to click on it in the chat. I can't, because when I go to click on it, it just shows to edit. But if you're able to click on that to,
So what they can do, I'm trying it myself. What they might need to do is either
mhm,
copy and paste it, or if they right click and highlight it, then the pop up will come up and give you the option to go to it. You know, so if they
okay,
highlight
okay,
it,
good, good.
yeah, they can highlight it and then click
Mhm,
on it from
mhm,
there, or copy and paste
mhm.
it.
Because I think that's great. That is a fantastical model to utilize when someone wants to begin to or to return to resilience in their lives. And now you have that information, those skills that you can use for yourself, and you can also help your children to learn how to cultivate some resilience in their life as well. Wow. So I think this is an amazing conversation. So, but I want to ask you for any final words that you may have for the viewers who are watching now or later.
Um, Very quickly, and Kelly
Mm-hmm.
had touched on it earlier a few moments ago.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, just know you're never alone, right?
Hmm.
If
Mm.
you are a believer, and you know that Jesus Christ is Lord and that He rose again, He died and rose again on the third day to pay the price for our sins. And when he
Mm-hmm.
left, we were given the gift of the Holy Spirit. So
Yes.
know that
Mm-hmm.
no matter what it is, you're never alone. You're never by yourself.
Yeah.
People are, oh, well, I don't know how to pray, or I've never prayed. Prayer is a conversation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking to God, and believe it or not, He does answer. He
Yes.
can
Mm-hmm.
answer in
Mm-hmm.
an audible voice. He can answer through someone else. But the
Mm-hmm.
Bible is the blueprint. That's His love
Right.
letter to us. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost. You're never by yourself. Um, I would say surround yourself with community
Yes.
that encourages you, builds you up,
Mm-hmm.
not tears you down.
Yeah.
If you have
Mm-hmm.
people that are very negative in your life, you might need to start making some changes,
Mm-hmm.
because negativity
Oh yeah.
breeds negativity. Understand that hurting people
Mm-hmm.
hurt people. And so you need to
Mm-hmm.
surround yourself with someone that, again, will lift you up and encourage you, not judge you, but listen to you and be willing to be that ear.
Yes.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and the last thing is know that you are wonderfully and creatively made. And the way
Yes.
that you are in God's eyes, you are enough.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
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 That's good. That's good. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah. So I just wanted to say as we wrap up, Valerie, you did put in the comments the links to the grounding exercises. They can help with
Yes.
self-regulation skills. Those are grounding techniques that can help with regulations, self-regulation. And again, that's part of the core
Mm-hmm.
resilience skills. Yeah.
Yeah. So those who are watching, you could go look in the chat at the very, very top. I put in two links. One is for the 5 4 3 2 1 method. There's a YouTube link for that. There's a video that teaches that skill, 5 4 3 2 1, which is a grounding technique. And then there is a box breathing technique. Go all the way up to the chat. Um, and you will see the link for both of those videos that are on YouTube that can teach you these methods. They are very, very helpful. And you know what I always tell my clients? To practice them, and I'm going to tell you guys also who is listening,
Hmm.
practice them before you need them.
Yes.
Practice these skills before you need them. So that way it'll be more second nature when the time comes when you are feeling excessively anxious, or you may be on the brink of a panic attack. So then you could call these up more easily. But if you haven't practiced them ahead of time, it's harder to call them up in a moment. Let's say you're someplace and you can't use your phone, you don't have a laptop, you don't have a tablet. But if you've practiced these things ahead of time, now you can remember, oh, you know what, I'm starting to feel really, really anxious. Let me go over here. And sometimes you can just take 1 minute and do some box breathing. Take one
Yes.
minute and do the 5 4 3 2 1 technique, because you don't have to spend a lot of time in order to get yourself regulated and de-stressed in the moment. So go back up to the top of the comments in the chat, and you'll see a link for both of those techniques. So, Miss Kelly, you listen. Now,
Yes.
you got to come back, okay? You know
Thank you
you got
so
to come
much.
back. I was trying to get you for another one in a few weeks, but I know you said you weren't available for that one. But when I get these scheduled together, because I take a break in the summer. I take off for July and August. I don't do any live broadcasts, but I will resume again in September. And usually around mid-August or so, I'll get my topics together that will last from September until June of the following year. So once I get those together, expect to hear from me and just go through the list and say, yes, I can do that one. I can do that one. I can do that one. And I tell everybody, you could do as many as you want. You could be on here as often as you want. I don't care. I just want you here, because everyone who has ever shown up here on this platform has had a great deal to offer to the people who have listened, who have viewed. And I just want to thank you, Kelly, for taking your time out on this evening to be here with us and sharing that UPenn model. I mean, listen, that's worth the price of admission right there, that
Um,
UPenn model, because everyone, all of us could benefit from utilizing that. So I want to thank you for that.
yes, I'm so
And,
glad that you found it. Oh, I'm sorry.
yes. And
Um,
Jacqueline Vernice Lawrence.
Oh no,
I
she
gotta say
said
her
my
whole
whole
company.
name. You know you gonna get it.
I know, but that's all right. You love me. That's all right. It'll be in love. And thank you so much, sis, because I just want to say to those of you who are still hanging in there and watching, there are times when my sister shows up for me when she physically would rather just be laying down or resting her body. She shows up when she's in pain. She shows up when she's in physical pain. She shows up when she's in emotional pain. She shows up when there's a whole lot of stuff going on. And I just want you to know, sis, how very, 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 very much I appreciate you and I love you, because you are now, have always been, my biggest cheerleader, my biggest supporter, and you have no idea how much that means to me. I love you, love you, love you.
I love you too, sis. But I do know how much it means because it's
Yeah.
reciprocated. See, that's the thing. Remember, you're my older sister, so I learned from you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh,
And like Val says, she shows up for me no matter what.
no
No
matter
matter
what.
what. 3 years ago, I was in the hospital. They really had no idea what was wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
here come Nurse Chase,
yes,
because she talks their talk, right?
yes,
And she was up at the
Mm-hmm.
hospital. And I'm telling you, anytime any of us have a medical question, even my kids, they're like, Mommy, call on Val. They have her number. They're like,
yeah,
Mommy, call on Val. So, sis, I know, because I feel exactly the same way. And we will
Oh,
always show up for each other because that's what we do. Kelly,
that's what we do.
it truly was a pleasure. Um, I wrote down the links. The UPenn, definitely going to do that myself. Read up
Mm-hmm.
on that. The box, we thank you very much.
oh,
And just let me
Mm-hmm.
warn you, when Val said you're going to get a list, trust me, you're going to get a list.
well, I do look forward to it. I look forward to the list. This has been a
Mm-hmm.
tremendous blessing to me. Thank you so much for the invitation. This has been a blessing to me. It really, really has. And I honestly, only because this is just who I am, I gotta say it. I feel it right
Mm-hmm.
now. It's rising up, so I gotta say it. Like, really, what I'm looking forward to is being able to, in the future, guide the viewers through the exercises, through the grounding,
Mm,
the box breathing,
yes.
and even incorporating the imagery and the
Mm-hmm.
5 4 3 2 1 method, and then the visualization, you
Yeah.
know, because, of course, when it comes to box breathing, square breathing, it goes, all type. There are so many. You can go on YouTube and look up grounding techniques and find
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff. But the point is, being able to actually guide them through it. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
That's
sometimes you
good.
can modify it. You can modify it,
Mm-hmm.
ways that
Hmm.
can actually, make it even more effective for some people.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to being able to do that, perhaps, in the
Okay.
future.
Well, listen, that's our goal for when we resume in the fall. We will schedule a podcast that is just for that,
Mhm.
to demonstrate those particular methods and
Yeah,
others, because we don't
Mhm.
have to limit ourselves to those.
that's right.
We can teach
There's so
other
many.
methods as
There's so
well.
many. Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
so
So
many.
that's great. I thank you for that, because actually that's something I had considered, but now that you have mentioned it, I think it's a fabulous idea,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so we'll work on that together so we can present that when we get our sessions ready for next season. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay. And listen, for those guys who are hanging in there, join us again next week. And if you have not already done so, Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Marriage Beyond the Breach. Hit the notification bell so that you'll be informed or notified whenever we have more podcasts coming up. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for being here. There are some people who are here almost every Sunday. I appreciate you. I appreciate new viewers. And I thank God for viewers that haven't even started viewing yet, because I know that God's going to send them. So I just thank you. And I invite you to come back next week. We got a treat next week. Next week, the Cookie Man's going to be here with me. Y'all know y'all love Cookie Man. So next week, Cookie Man and I, we're going to be talking about a couple of things. We're going to look at honesty versus transparency, and we're going to look at contentment versus settling. What's the difference? What do they look like? Okay, so join us on next week. And I love you guys. Thank you so, so much. And I'll see you all next week.
God bless.
God bless you.
God
Hold on,
bless.
I'm trying to get my